Hey there, Yarn Bestie. Jaya from Hobbii here, and you're listening to Skein and Tell, the podcast that unravels it all. Today's episode, it's a real twister. So we're diving into yarn storage and organization tips. So if you've ever opened a closet and you've just been kind of hit with a yarn avalanche or played maybe yarn chicken trying to find the other end of a skein buried under a pile of half-finished project, this one's for you. Whether you're a neat freak or a proud fiber gremlin, we're uncovering clever hacks, dreamy storage setup, and yes, how to finally tame that stash beast. Now let's be honest, some of us didn't mean to become yarn hoarders, it just kind of sort of happened. Then there's also some of us that just really love collecting yarn. But leaving aside our yarn collecting adventures, the yarn chaos or aesthetic nightmare, as I like to call it, can cost you money, can cost you time, and most importantly, can cost you creative momentum. So today we're going to fix that. No shame, no guilt, just solutions that work. From my own experience and also from what I could gather in my little office search. And mind you, at Hobbii, 90% of the people are crafters, so everybody has their own amazing tips and tricks. So here we go. Now, before you can organize anything, you gotta know what you got. So knowing the yarn is the first thing we're gonna focus on. So step one is to pull everything out. I'm talking every bin. I'm talking every drawer. I'm talking under bed box. I'm talking the cursed tote bag behind the sofa. I'm talking the basket on top of the fridge that you place there because you know your toddler plays spaghetti with your stash. All of that, all out, okay? Step two is to decide on a, let's call it grouping method, right? It can be grouped by either fiber or it can be grouped by weight, by color, whatever makes sense to you. You need to figure out your system that works for you. One of my friend's system is actually grouping by future projects. So in this kind of system, you might actually group fibers that are very different or colors that are different altogether in the same location, right? For me personally, I'd love to group my yarns by fiber because I then store them in a different kind of way. By that I mean that I usually obviously store my acrylics slightly different than I store my wool or my natural fibers, but we'll eventually get into that. And then step three, once you've grouped your yarns, it's time to, let's call it to weed it out, okay? It's time to declutter a bit. And be honest, are you really, really going to use everything you bought back in 2012? Or would you rather just have a clean stash only with yarns that you love? And think of it as a cleansing rituals where you get rid of all the bad juju that is causing you stress and anxiety. You can sell it, you can donate it, and I'm sure that it'll make you feel so much better because I have personally done this the past few months and it just gave me such a nice feeling, a feeling of just de-stressing me completely. I think that there is no shame if you actually love all your stash, so you want to keep everything. So in this case, you can just skip this step. But if, there's a rascal in there that is causing you more stress than joy, out with it, I mean, what I love about this is that by selling or donating what you don't like anymore or what you don't need anymore, then you could actually free some space in your home or make some more space for different yarns, You know what I'm saying? So, that was the first thing that we need to do. So pull everything out, decide on a grouping method, and then eventually weed it out. So out with everything you don't use. Now let's talk about how to store the yarn because storage solution, there's a lot of them and they're awesome and they slap, but they slap kind of gently, like a gentle slap, like a tiny little tap. So starting off with a classic, we have the the ultra famous cube shelf from IKEA, the Kallax, a timeless favorite as we like to call it. We even have this one actually in our video studio, and it's one of the ones you see in the background when we stream Hobbii Bingo or other Hobbii live events. Now you can pair it with baskets, or you can pair it with clean bins, and boom, you have a functional and an Instagram-worthy shelf there. But you can also, of course, repurpose an old bookshelf, maybe even turn that into a DIY project where you can maybe paint it in a lovely color, you know. This is really tickling my creative juices here, because I would love to actually paint my own bookshelf, like an old bookshelf, just in a really, really nice, beautiful color for yarn. But that's going to be something I probably do once we move to a bigger house and I get to have a little yarn studio again. Now, some of our Hobbii besties, you know, somebody from the office, mentioned that they actually love a vertical solution instead. So instead of the Kallax, instead of the famous cube shelf, they love a vertical solution for their stashing. So they actually use hanging shoe organizers because they're perfect for smaller apartments, you know, because you can hang them on doors, on closets, inside cabinets as well. And other yarn besties from Hobbii, okay, it's not besties. It's just one bestie. It's Kat. Kat from PMP, which you've heard in previous episodes. She got quite technical here. And she got technical because she keeps her stash in a gorgeous and a huge, gorgeous cheddar chest, particularly made from Eastern red cheddar. So, did I just say cheddar? Why am I saying cheddar? It's cedar. Cheddar. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for some lunch. It's almost 2:00 and I didn't have lunch. I've been recording podcast episodes. Okay. Cedar. Kat is storing her yarn in a cedar wood chest. Cheddar. I love it. I'm gonna call it cheddar from now on. Oh God. Okay, so cedar wood, it has this distinctive aromatic oil that is just known as being a natural moth repellent. Now, the oil in cedar wood disrupts these pheromone receptors that moths have, and it makes it harder for them to locate suitable spots to lay eggs in wool. And this is why cedar chests or even cedar closets are traditionally used to store fabrics that you would like to protect from moths. Cedar chests were traditionally also used in storing, valuable textiles and heirlooms and special pieces that you want to keep safe. Now, cedar chests, the scent fades over time, but you can just lightly sand the interior wood again to really, really quickly refresh that aroma. Or you can also, I've heard, add a few drops of cedar wool essential oil. Now, I've been on the lookout for a cheddar chest, since Kat told me about this many, many years ago. But for now, I couldn't find one around my area, so the search continues. But if you have the option, if you can check around your area to see if there is one available and if it's maybe cheap, and if you work with a lot of natural fibers, then this is a godsend tip here. Use a cedar chest or a cedar closet. Now, for commoners like you and me, a ziplock bag will probably do the trick. No, but for real, for the budget conscious bestie like you and me, getting your hands on a gallon Ziploc bag and that's just something that you can toss anywhere. You don't need to have a special location for it. I keep mine inside the sofa. I have a sofa that lifts up and I just keep it in there. So yeah, for the budget conscious besties, just get your hands on those gallon Ziploc bags, or just gallon bags that have zippers. And yeah, if you can't do that, you can also toss your yarn into containers that you can shut close. As long as you keep your yarn clean, which is the purpose with a gallon Ziploc bag or with a box, then it's perfect, right? Some of our Hobbii besties were mentioning that you can also get big Ziploc vacuum sealed options as well, and that's apparently chef's kiss for bulky yarns. Another option, of course, could be whip bins or whip Ziploc bags, like the smaller ones. Like I said, my friend Erica, she stores her stash in designated bins per work in progress. Now, she labels them, and if she has the printed pattern, she will lay it on top of the yarn and then just seal her bin, seal her box up to be ultra prepared in case she wants to actually dive into a new whip. And I love that approach, and I actually think that eventually I will reorganize my stash using that solution instead, because I feel like this way you're already ahead when you start on a project. So if you get bins, like smaller bins, I recommend them to also make sure that they are transparent bins. Also, if they're big bins, actually, it doesn't really matter. Just clear bins, transparent, because then you have easier visibility, and it's much nicer to be able to see what's inside the box at the end of the day. I know that I was a little bit against this particular method many years ago, because I didn't really like the look of it. But yes, it's much important now to have visibility than to have just something looking nice. You can also have both, you know. So whatever storage system you decide to use, make it simple for yourself to get creative fast. Now, I have something a little special for you coming up. Welcome to Keep Calm and Craft On, where we share stories from our community to our community. Now, these are the moments that remind us how powerful yarn can be, not in just what we can make with it, but also in how we heal, how we connect, and how we carry on. I have a story here that has been sent to me many weeks ago. It is the first story actually that I got in my inbox. So yeah, let's just get into reading it. I was home cleaning the house and I suddenly had a terrible pain in my head and felt really tired. I had a lay down and my daughter called me. She noticed that my voice was slurring, so started a video call with myself and my other children. They noticed that I had facial paralysis on one side. And after arriving at the hospital, I had a CT scan which showed that I had 3 strokes affecting both sides of my brain. They also found a benign brain tumor. We didn't really notice all the issues I had straight away, but it became apparent that I had problems with my processing, memory, speech, concentration, weakness in my left leg and right arm, and in my hand. When I was released from the hospital, I had appointments for physiotherapy and speech therapy, and I was given exercises to do to improve my balance and strengthen my arm, hand, and leg. The physiotherapist noticed that I had a yarn bag and asked if I knitted or crocheted, to which I replied both, but I'm afraid I won't be able to anymore. She said that it will help with my concentration, it will help with my memory, hand-eye coordination, help with my reading, so to try to do a bit throughout the day. At first, it felt really foreign. It felt like when you first start. But it did get a little easier the more I did. Making amigurumi I found really difficult because counting between increases. At first, I had to frog each row several times because I lost count. But after a month or so, I made the baby blanket I had been working on before the strokes. It was just a simple granny square blanket, but I did it. And after that, I decided to make myself a hoodie, something warm to keep me warm. So I made the Go Handmade Cozy Hoodie. And it took a while, but I did it. Since then, I was able to make octopus medical aids for premature babies. Oh, that's so cute. For premature babies for charity. And these really tested my brain and hands, but they passed the quality checks, which I'm extremely proud of. Last year, I decided that I would make Christmas gifts for my whole family. And I managed to make 3 blankets, a hexi-cardi, 3 hats, and a pair of socks. I'm still slow at making my projects, but I keep plodding along stitch by stitch. After 3 years, my memory has improved. I can concentrate for longer. I've been learning new techniques. I can read longer passages. Knitting and crochet has really helped me through such a difficult time in my life, and Hobbii has been a part of that. Wow. Okay, to the incredible human who sent this in. First of all, thank you. Thank you for your honesty, for your strength. Thank you for your willingness to share something so deeply personal with all of us. And I remember reading your words for the first time a few weeks back. And I'll be honest, I got teary because it was the first story that I got sent in. So I really didn't expect it. It's one thing to go through something as terrifying and life-altering as multiple strokes and also brain tumor. And it's another to keep showing up every single day to reclaim your mind, to reclaim your movement, your agility, your memory, and even the stash you have, reclaiming it, taking power of it. So I think that the image, at least for me, that I have in my head of you picking up the hook again, even though your hands and your brain were saying, whoa, this feels really weird. This is so foreign to me. What's going on here? That image is so powerful to me. That moment where you just keep on frogging the same row again and again and again, but you just keep going anyway. That's just, in my head, that's not just crochet. That's just pure grit, And then Granny Square Blanket. You said it's one simple project with not so simple meaning actually behind it. A blanket that wasn't just, I think, yarn. It was more like a milestone. Still here, still me, let's go. I think that I was very moved by the part where you said that the crochet became a part of your therapy, a part of your healing. And that you made octopus medical aids for premature babies. That is so, for me, that's so, I don't know how to say it. I'm a little teary now, but it's because also I've seen Albert get one of those when he was small. My baby, he was premature and he had a rough start. And those little tiny octopi, it's for him, it probably was very cozy to feel, like the texture of them. And that got me very teary a little bit, to be honest. And it still got me teary now, thinking about it. It's really love in the form of fiber, making those, I think. And I can't imagine how meaningful it must have also felt for you to know that little ones are also getting a piece of your love. So yeah, you're saying you're still slow, but honestly, every stitch you've made is fast in courage. It's a step forward. And yeah, I love it. You said you made a hoodie for yourself. It's kind of like an armor, It's something that you wrapped around yourself and said, I made it. I'm making it. And 3 years, wow, 3 years of healing, of creating, of learning and giving. I think that I'm not the only one who says I am proud of you right now. I think that we are all proud of you. Everybody listening is here listening with you. We're proud of you. And the fact that Hobbii got to be a part of that journey is for us so much. I actually shared this message with my team and they were all so moved. So anyone who's listening right now, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling broken, or this is your reminder that you can always come back stitch by stitch and day by day. So to the beautiful soul who wrote this, once again, thank you for reminding us that yarn isn't just something we use to, make things. It's something we use to make ourselves whole again. So yeah, keep calm, craft on. We're right here with you. And if you've got a story you would like to share, send it my way at jaya@hobbii.com. I would love to hear from you. All right, next up in our main topic is to label everything like your life depends on it, because honestly, it kind of does. All right, bestie, this is the hill I would gladly die on. Label your yarn. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, is more frustrating than pulling out a half-used skein and thinking, wait a minute. Is this a cotton acrylic blend? Is it DK or worsted? Did I buy this during last week's live shopping? Was it during the Hobbii Black Friday sale in 22 or 23? So, let's make future use life easier with a few label-friendly habits, okay? This will help you avoid accidentally felting that non-superwash wool that you thought was superwash wool. It makes it easier to destash or to swap yarns with confidence. It saves money because you'll know what you already have instead of buying more. And it keeps your project more consistent, especially when you're mixing yarns, right? Or when you're going back to a whip many, many months later. So you can use, obviously, physical tags, right? You can use sticky notes. You can washi. You can stop it. Okay, focus. You can use washi tape, or you can also go digital. But the best way to label is by fiber content, by yardage, by colorway or dye lot, and when and where you bought it. So by fiber content, this means that you make a pile for wool, you make a pile for acrylic, you make a pile for cotton, etc., etc., etc. This matters a lot for washing purposes. It also matters for durability. It matters for drape. Another way to basically label is by yardage. And that's important for planning out your future projects, because you don't want to start a sweater and then realize you only have enough yarn for a scarf when you've already finished a yoke and all of that, right? Then you can also organize by colorway or dye lot. This is critical for color consistency. And if you've been there, just like me, 2 skeins of the same color name might look very, very, very differently if they're from different dye lots. So this is actually very especially important if you're saving partial skeins. And then you have another type of labeling, which is kind of like where and when you bought it. It's not always necessarily a thing you need to do, but trust me, knowing where you bought that sock yarn, whether it was from a little flea market in, I don't know, Lisbon in 22, or whether it was some crazy wool that you got in Oslo on a cruise. It's nice to have that information there, and it makes it special. Also helpful when you need to hunt down more, and so forth. Now, here are a few methods, actually, depending on your style, on how to label. So, like I said, you can do it by fiber, by yardage, by colorway or dye lot, and when and where you bought it. But how do you bundle things, You can obviously bundle by fiber content. Then add just like a washi tape on a box or a zipper bag, or add a sticky note that you can read inside the box or the zipper bag. If you bundle by color, then it's a bit more work, but it's totally worth it nonetheless, I think, right? So you have to actually, in this case, use maybe an index card or a piece of paper, a sheet, where you can actually label the boxes or the bags with numbers and then write down which yarns you have in each box / index card / bag / whatever you want to call it. So for instance, you have 5 boxes, right? And in box number 1, which is red yarn, you have maybe, I don't know, 7 skeins of France cotton silk in color Bordeaux, number 53 or 43, I think. And then the lot number. And then you also have in the same box number 1, you have 8 skeins of France cotton in this color, in this style lot, etc., etc., etc. So that's a really, really smart way to bundle by keeping this nice index card. Now, if you bundle your yarn by upcoming projects, then adding a sheet inside the box or the zipper bag with what project it's gonna be or what is it intended for, or even printing the actual pattern and slide it in, that's also quite smart. Bundling yarn by weight, you can also do that. So if you store your yarn by weight, DK, worsted, chunky, etc., this is a very, very great low effort kind of like system. You label your bins or bags by weight category with a little tape or washi tape, and then you add a small index card to that, So kind of like the same we do with the colors as well. It's also very low effort, as in you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to think what you're going to do in the future with it. But it's kind of funny because it is a little bit harder work, because then if you want to actually keep track, then you should write down, okay, I have 5 skeins of, or 5 cakes of this yarn, But anyway, you can also include a small swatch in these boxes if you've worked with that yarn before, because it will also help you remember the texture. And then you don't have to make a gauge swatch again. So, you can also bundle by use case. So this works very, 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 very well for makers who do different crafting projects. So who are doing, everything from garments to amigurumis to dishcloths. So you can separate bins or gallon bags by, garment yarn or sock yarn or toy making or home decor. So each label will contain obviously a short checklist inside, You can also add that, and you can add a small little ideas would be washability, softness, stretch, recovery, or perfect for. And I mean, those are just the most common methods of organizing the stash by bundles that I could fish for around the office. But I did discover actually 2, new to me at least, very nerdy ways of bundling your yarn for stashing. So you could also bundle it by special versus everyday yarn. So some yarns are, use on anything, while others are a little bit like, I'll save this until, I don't know, the planet aligns, right? Now, you would label one section everyday go-to and the other one special yarns or special stash. And in the special stash, it can be hand-dyed and limited edition yarns that you don't really, really use on a regular basis, right? That you would save for a very special project when you find that special project. So you're kind of reminded of the story also behind the skein and perhaps the reason why you bought it or you've got it as a gift. That's one way. And then there's also, and this was super interesting, there is a way to bundle your yarn by a seasonal rotation bundle system. So just like your wardrobe, stash can also be, of course, seasonal. So you can store off-season yarn in a, labeled hibernation bin, and another one with do not open until fall, and then another one that is just, summer yarns, spring yarns, or so forth, right? And remember that if you do have something like a hibernation bin, which yarns that you don't really use a lot, if there's any wool or natural fibers in there, it's always a good idea to put in a lavender sachet or a cedar block, a cedar block to keep it fresh, okay? So yeah, then you have your working stash right near you or somewhere where you have easy access. And our Hobbii besties they also gave me some more ideas on how to organize the bundles. So one was by using a color code label or a color code tape. So you would have like one color for cotton, then another color for wool, and then another one for acrylic. And then somebody else gave me the idea to take a quick photo of each bin or of each bag before I shut them close with the contents to make actually a little folder in your phone with these photos to help you see what's inside each box or bag without having to dig in, especially if you're layering, especially if the boxes are tall and you have to layer them. So yeah. Okay, so you've tamed the yarn chaos, but what about the little guys, the hooks, the needles, the scissors, the stitch markers, the cable needles, the row counters, tape measures, all the things that mysteriously vanish 5 minutes into any single project. Now, your tools, they deserve their own little VIP suite, The good news is that it's easy to organize these. Just a little creativity and maybe a tin or two from your last cookie binge. That's all we need. So the easiest is to probably use like kitchen caddies or even big mugs, short vases maybe, or flower pots. And you can have several, one for everything. So one for straight needles, one for double-pointed needles, one for hooks, one for wooden hooks, one for plastic hooks, one for scissors, one for, miscellaneous doll stuff. So they're pretty awesome because it keeps everything upright and visible. So no more digging. If you're going heavy on the cottagecore look and you want extra aesthetic points, you can always use maybe vintage tins like cookie tins. And yeah, they also look pretty cute for this, So for smaller tools like stitch markers, for smaller tools like darning needles, needle stoppers, maybe for stuff that's... So basically anything that's small that gets lost. You can also go full vintage with maybe mint boxes or tea tins. So I know that for the needles or for cables as well, I think the best way is to probably keep them in their own case if you have one. But if you have loose cable needles and you don't have a case, then that's a different story. And let's be real, if cable needles had a personality, then they would probably be that friend that is super annoying because they're always late for brunch or any party, but they still manage to charm you, They're kind of like essential, but somehow they always kind of end up, tangled. So I would organize them by length and pop them in either a zipper pouch, or you can use a clip binder to group them and hang them with a label so you know which is which. And then there's also the stackable hardware drawers, if you know what I'm talking about. It's those little plastic towers from, the hardware aisle, or you can even find them in office supply stores or even at IKEA, actually. So you can actually also label each drawer and put cables in there, for instance. I think that there's so many ways to also organize the tools, and we have to remember that they need organizing too. It's not just the yarn, it's also the tools. We also have template PDFs that you can download and print from the point store for keeping track of your needles and hooks. So check that one out if you need a little help to get started on, maybe classifying your toolsies. So, yeah. We interrupt today's episode to bring you What's Trending. Buckle up, bestie, because we're diving into the hottest, coziest, and sometimes strangest trends sweeping the yarn world right now. Here's What's Trending. Okay, bestie, I have a trend for you that's giving major floral wallpaper meets yarn explosion in the best way possible. Let's talk about maximalism and granny core revival. Here's what's trending. Minimalism, yeah, it had a good run, you know. Sorry, Marie Kondo. But now it's time to let your inner fiber maniac dance barefoot through a Technicolor meadow because granny squares are back again and they're not playing. So we're seeing patchwork everywhere. We're seeing patchwork everything. Where it's everywhere. It's cardigans, it's skirts, it's crop tops, even bags made entirely of mismatched motifs. It's loud, it's bold, it's gloriously unapologetic, you know, and the vibe is kind of like, I made these pants from 12 leftover skeins of yarn. Or this is 2 different decades of stash and one very powerful sense of self-expression. So granny core is also about embracing the cottage, cozy cottage aesthetic, you know? So think lace curtains and floral motifs and tea cozies and afghans that, you know, they slay. When layering textures, we're also mixing clashing colors as well. And it's all about saying yes to every stitch that just, you know, sparks joy. Sorry, Marie Kondo again. Maximalism though, honey, we are done pretending we want to make a cardi in one solid color. So it's time to use 5 colors in one sleeve if you want. It's time to add fringe and ruffles and bubbles and whatever you feel like adds a nice, beautiful texture. And I think that this is definitely a trend that's a love letter to beauty and a love letter to imperfection, to slow fashion, and to makers who never apologize for being a little extra, you know, because extra is art. So if your granny square stash has been whispering to you from, you know, the basket in the corner, this is pretty much your sign. Embrace the chaos. Clash with confidence. Time to make yourself a shawl made out of granny stitches in all colors possible and impossible. And yeah, remember that you are the statement piece here, okay? So that was all for what's trending. And now to the main topic. Now, here's the truth, bestie. There is no perfect way to organize your stash, okay? There is no gold medal for having color-coded bins or no crafting gods judging your ziplock bags. Definitely no shame in whatever system is yours. No shame in your system if it's just a pile of yarn that kind of just lives under the dining table or, in my case, inside the sofa, okay? The goal isn't perfection. The goal is inspiration, okay? It's about creating a space, whether that's a whole room or a shelf or a single basket or a shoebox under your bed. But it has to feel like it's you, okay? It has to make you want to pick up your hook, to pick up your needles and dive straight in. So maybe you're, maybe you're the spreadsheet and label maker type, who lives for a good alphabetized stash, Please teach us your way. Or maybe you're just kind of like a whimsical chaos crafter who stores yarn in cookie tins or reusable grocery bags and somehow still knows exactly where that skein of mustard yellow sock yarn is hiding. Honestly, respect to that. The key here is if your system works for you, if it brings you joy and ease and creativity, then it's the right system. Today's episode was definitely just about making sure that you know the options available, but that you keep in mind that crafting is supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to just follow something somebody says. It's supposed to be fun. Don't stress about what your stash should look like. Instead, listen to what keeps you motivated and what keeps your ideas flowing. and what makes your yarn feel like it's, magic. So whether it's a little beautiful calyx cube system or a full fiber goblin chaos, make your yarn space your own. Make it fun. And above all, just make something you love with it. So yeah, I hope that you're feeling a little bit more inspired to give your stash maybe some love or attention this year. Whether that means to totally reorganize or just finally find the bottom of a work in progress inside a forgotten basket somewhere. If this episode sparked ideas, gave you maybe like a giggle, or reminded you of a skein that you forgot you had, leave a comment. Share it with your fiber fam by tagging me in your stash setup using hashtag Skein and Tell or hashtag Hobbii podcast. I love seeing how creative this community gets with the storage hacks. And of course, don't forget to subscribe or follow for more yarny goodness, cozy chats, and the occasional deep dive into the world's fluffiest mysteries. Until next time, keep your skeins untangled, your projects close, and your storage solutions just how you like them. Okay, love you, bestie. Bye.